So we're talking about generational wealth in today's video. So you see all of these guys out there, and I'm not trying to step on anybody, but we got to be real. Some of these people who talk about generational wealth have not created generational wealth. And over the weekend, something happened to me to where I believe that I've created generational wealth. And a lot of people think that generational wealth has to do with the amount of money that you have. Yes, that's a part of it. That's a major piece of it. But I want you to think about it this way. And this is why this thought came to my mind. In order for that generational wealth to be able to continue, there's going to have to be some sort of mindset that is in place on what needs to be done with the money moving forward until. Because we got plenty of people that are around that make a lot of money, that have got a lot of money, and the money is gone. I can even speak of something that happened in my own family. My grandmother, my granny, Oleta Phillips, she sold her property in 1983 to the city of Dallas. It was, if you've ever been to Dallas, there's a section north of where the freeway is. If you go to the freeway now, that big one that goes east-west. Well, right below there was my grandmother, my granny, was her property. It was passed down to her from my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother. It was 5 duplexes and then 5 houses and then 1 duplex. They were all lined up in a row. And all of a sudden, the city of Dallas said, we want to buy that property. And if you go to Dallas, you'll see why they wanted to buy that property. It's close to downtown. They wanted to buy out everybody. And there is still, just so you can know that I'm telling you the truth, there is still one building that is still there. And it's the lady, she has to be passed on. But she owned this apartment building like it was a lot of 1-bedroom apartments. And she would just rent them out to people in the neighborhood that really couldn't afford to live anywhere else. But she had a nice business going. That is still there. I don't know if the family just didn't want to sell it or something, or at least it was there a few years back when last time I visited and went into that area. It might not be there now. But in 1983, my grandmother sold everything for a little over, I think, $580-some thousand. In today's money, that would probably be about $1.5 million. She gave all of her grandchildren and her children, she had 8 children, she gave $25,000 to her children, and then $2,500 to all of us grandchildren. I'm sad to say that the money did not get utilized the way that it should have been utilized. I believe that maybe out of all of the children, me and one of my other cousins, the older cousins that were older than me, got their money and used their money. I got my money by having my granny give it to me because I wanted to invest in this real estate program. If you watched some of my other videos where I talked about I had bought a real estate program, I forget, it was Ed Beckley. This was way back in the 80s, and turned out to be trash. And then I used the other $1,500 for a Spanish guy that taught me face-to-face best investment that I made. He taught me real estate. Even though I wasn't ready to use it at that young age, I was only 18 years old. 17 years old. He told me everything about buying real estate face-to-face. He recorded it on, back then we used to have tape cassettes. I'm right across from him on his desk. He had the workbooks, and he would just tell me what he did every day to buy and sell real estate. Best program. So that $1,500 went to something. But all of the other money, it was just my granny picked up the duplex that she wanted to keep and paid a lot of money to have it moved somewhere in another city, and that was like a waste of money, but she felt comfortable wanting to have her house instead of getting one built. But all of the money went to nothing. It was nothing. And it's mainly because there was no mindset. So fast forward to what I've built as an individual, well, with my wife over the last 35 years, building our businesses, becoming very successful, and thinking about how we pass this down, number one, to our children and then to our grandchildren. And a few things have happened over the last month, but financially, some things that have happened to where we know our grandchildren, like children and then grandchildren, have money to do what they want to do, and we suggest that they sit down and think about it and then decide what they want to do for business. Grandchildren, which we were already able to do this, but what made me feel so good about it, it was from a venture that we had did in the past with one of our children. That business is going to be sold, and so funds are going to go back to me and my wife, but also to my daughter that worked with us with that business, but then to her children. But that's the money side of it. The mindset, when my daughter talked to me about what do you think I should do, and I said you need to just take the money, spend a little bit on yourself and your husband, but then y'all sit down and think about what you want to do to make that money into more money. It might be to just invest it and let it sit. Y'all are young. You have very good income working for the other companies that we have. You can really just let that money build up, and by the time you're in your 40s or mid 40s, you don't have to work anymore. And then you can pass that same type of investment spirit straight to your kids, my grandkids. But also the part that what made me feel that the generational wealth mindset has carried over with my children and then grandchildren is that I've always said everything starts in the mind. Like you don't get money first. It starts in your mind. My mentor, Reverend Ike, talks about that there's 3 levels of money, and most people fight and scratch and everything for the green paper, because that's what you could see physically. And then he talks about the second level is where you start to understand that money is created, that you create money from the things that you do. So you can actually have no money and create something that'll bring you money. And then he talks about the third level, which is, and he says it, I am money. And that means that you fully understand that you can create your reality when it comes to making money. And that I am here to attest to that. There are several things, but here's the thing, is that people don't understand it looks different. Like, let me give you a quick example. I've used this example before in the past. And I talked about where with my first company, my wife and I didn't have money. I'm 21 years old. She's 20 years old. We have no money. And we started thinking about what we wanted to do for a business, and we had an idea of an advertising publication. This is 1990. Computers are $2,500 to $3,500. It is not no Best Buy where you just go walk in. You go to a computer store, and it was a 286. Look it up. 286 computer was $3,500 that used a floppy disk. Software was hundreds of dollars. But we had a goal in our mind. See, we had it in our mind first, what we wanted to do. So that meant that no matter what, the universe said, if this is in your mind, it's the dominant thought in your mind, that means that the universe has to rearrange my reality to fit what's in my mind, because it was nothing that was going to let it go. At that time in 1991, the goal in my wife's mind and my mind was we're going to make $6,000 per month. That was our goal because we felt that if we can make $6,000 a month, we were good. I've made as much as $300,000 a month now, but that's my thought process back then. And that thought process back then carried us. We made that business successful. We still own that business to this day. It's about to be 35 years old. Yes, it has transitioned to look a little bit different. But what I want to get across to you and what you need to understand is that it was in our mind. When it's in your mind, stuff will come together to make it work. Let me tell you some things that came together that made it work. See, you're thinking that somebody's going to bring you the money or the money is going to appear. Money appears different in different ways. So we went to a computer store, and I'm going to do an advertisement for him. If you're in the Wisconsin area, Computer Adventure in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Because what he did, the owner is Eric. What he did is he allowed my wife and I to make payments on our computer. That's what he did. He said you can come into the store and work and do whatever you need to do on the computer, but it's not leaving here until the payments are done. But he said you can come in here and work on the computer. I call that a source of money, because go to Best Buy or somewhere now and put it on layaway, or go to somewhere and put it on layaway. Are they going to let you do anything with it? So I call that a source of money because that gave us a head start on what we needed to learn and do. And he started teaching us some things about the computer. So really, that's another source of money. He didn't have to do that. Let me tell you another source of money that came to us that doesn't look like money, but it equaled a lot of money. We needed to move to another printer because the printer that we were at was a disaster. We went to another printer, but we didn't have the money to pay the print. See, if you don't have any credit established and you're a new business and try to get things going, you're going to have something to bring to the table. And what we brought to the table, we had a meeting. Now, check this out. This is how this worked. Another gentleman who had a pretty good reputation in the advertising business actually brought us to a printer that could help us with the advertising of our with printing our publication. We had no money to give to them, but this guy said this couple is a good couple. Now, mind you, we're 20 and 21 years old, but he saw something in us that was like, hey, they're in competition with me, but I believe that they're good, and I want to refer them to print through you. That company, this is the deal that we worked out, is we said, okay, we will sell our advertisements, we will put our publication together, we will bring it to you, which was more than an hour drive away. Back then, there was no uploading PDFs and uploading to servers. None of that existed. We had to paste it down on paper, these big 17 by or 11 by 17 sheets, and we had to drive it to them. That's how it had to be done back then. And it was an hour away, so an hour there and an hour back. And then, but we said this, you print it. And then before we print the next one, we will pay you the money. So that meant that we would go back the next day, because it took a day to print, go pick them up in our minivan, brought them back. Well, at that time we had like a car, because we wasn't having that many printed, but it was full to the rim. Pick them up, bring them, pass them out, and go the next week to collect the money on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And on Wednesday night, we would get the paper ready to go take to them on Thursday, but we had to give them the payment on Thursday, which was about $400 to $500. We did that for a while, started getting, everything was going good, built up the credit with them. But let me tell you, for them making that decision and believing in us, that company made millions of dollars from me and my wife. Millions. We don't print anymore. We're a digital publication because things have changed. But they made millions of dollars from us, and we made multi-millions of dollars from them. At some of the weeks when our publication got just huge, like 150 pages a week full of advertisers, we're making, you know, 75 to 100 and some $1,000 in a month, and they were making $4,500 to $5,500 a week per week in printing. So back then, for them trusting in us, and we have to do the work. So it's not just them trusting in us and we're not doing anything. They trusted in us, but we had to do the work. So I'm pretty sure if we didn't come that first week with the money, do the right thing from going to collect from advertisers and taking that portion and paying that print bill, that the whole thing would have collapsed. So there's going to be things that you're going to have to do. There's going to be things that the other people are going to have to be able to work out and do for you. Now, fast forward to what we got now. It's wide open for people because there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more ways to get companies to trust you. You know, you never know. A company now, back then, yeah, believing in somebody, you can go a long way. It was like rolling the dice. Now you never know who's going to hit it. It could be a 10-year-old that has an idea. As long as they have their thoughts and have everything lined up that makes sense. That's another thing. If what you're going to do makes sense, there can't be any like doubt spots. So this was the deal. This was the deal with the printer. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and sell the ads. The people don't want to pay us up front because they've been ripped off by other people who claim to do what we're going to do. So we told them that we're going to print it and then we're going to distribute it to the stores. It's a free publication. And then we're going to collect from them the week after. So they're paying for their product after they got it. And if you will trust us to be able to do that process every week, we're going to bring the money to you. And we did it like clockwork. We did it like clockwork, and it really paid off big for them. Even when they sold the company, like the owner of that company ended up selling that print company. He made like $20 million when he sold it. When he shifted us over to the new company, we were like one of their biggest customers. They were like, because we were one of the biggest customers, that helped them also be able to get, be able to get more money for their for selling their company, because you got one customer here that might bring you like 300 grand consistently for years. So don't always look at it as you got to have the money or the money has to come to you. There's a lot of different ways, and the number one thing that you got to think about is that money will materialize when you put the things in place to be able to get the money. Before I close out, I want to talk about one way that I've really found out that where the money is, that you probably heard before, but I want to reiterate it, is that people talk about the email list. The money is legitimately in the email list. If you want to talk about how you can put money in the bank for the future, build an email list. Advertise your business to always generate leads. I made a video earlier about my Facebook account getting hacked, and one of the things that helped me during that process, during that whole hell that I was in trying to get my Facebook account back, because that was a major part of the advertising that we did, was my email list. I got over 80,000 people who haven't bought from me that are on my list. Kept sending out emails to them, and people were signing up every day. We didn't even miss a beat. We didn't miss a beat. So don't fall for, you got to always have all of the money. Some things you will have to have money. You got to have money to invest in yourself. So no matter what, if you have a mindset problem, let me tell you, and you need to watch my mindset skill set video too. But I'll just briefly tell you, if you got a mindset problem, that means that you know that everything is lined up in front of you, but you just have a problem executing it. You have a mindset problem. You got to pay somebody to help you get over a mindset problem, where you got to do a lot of work, because that's where you have limiting beliefs. Something is inside of you that just makes you think you don't deserve it. That's just, I'm going to be straight, no sugarcoat, and that's where you're at. If you have a skill set problem, which where you got the mindset but you just don't know how to do the stuff, this is where a lot of people had this problem. But the way to overcome that problem is to pay somebody to take care of the skill set stuff. And if you don't pay somebody to take care of the skill set stuff, and you know that you got a skill set problem, then you don't think that you deserve it. So you technically have two problems when you have a skill set problem that you know about and you don't do anything about it. Because no matter what, both of them, you're holding yourself back. Both of them, you'll be holding yourself back. All right. Hey, and again, to close it out, my grandchildren, they all say it starts in the mind. My children, they say it starts in the mind, but they're a little bit behind my grandchildren because I started very early with my grandchildren. First thing I'll ask them some of the times when I see them is, where does everything start? Like a cell phone, where did this come from? It didn't come from the store. It came from somebody's mind. The mind designed it first. So if you can start to think and think, believe, trust, try, do things to prove it to yourself that if you can get it in your mind first, everything else will start materializing. And some of the times it don't materialize the exact way that you might think it would, but it will materialize. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams here on YouTube.